Hey everybody, welcome to Hump Day Hangouts. This is episode number 533. Today is the 12th of February 2025. And we have got Chris, Bradley, myself, Adam, and we've got a couple quick announcements and some cool things coming up. And then we are, of course, going to get into answering your local SEO questions. So first of all, Chris, how are you doing today?
Doing good. Bit surprised about the weather here today. Winter seems to be back, even if it looked like spring last week. So yeah, like staying here, busy working as usual. Couple pretty good projects in the working.
Nice.
I'm not sure if I should announce anything yet, but probably takes still another month. We'll see.
Fair enough. Well, yeah, it started snowing again here, and I went out. I took a break this afternoon and went for an hour run in the woods, and had to put on. Anyone who's familiar with this, they're called yak tracks, but they're like traction devices for your shoes, so you can run in the packed snow and ice. But it was nice, super quiet, nobody else out there, and wasn't windy, so it was a really nice day. But anyways, Bradley, how you doing today?
Good, man. Busy. It's weather's shitty here again, but it's that time of year. So we had like 5 inches of snow 2 days ago, and then yesterday it rained all day and was just barely above freezing. So it was just sloppy and slushy and nasty. And then today it's like 46 degrees right now. I've been raining,
Oh,
so
wow.
now all the snow's gone, but it's like the I'm on top of a mountain, and gravity is supposed to make water roll downhill. It's like it's all pooled right up here on the top of the fucking mountain. It's like a one big ass puddle. It's awful. It's really bad. And all the people at the bottom of the mountain, I feel sorry for them because it's a soggy mess. But other than that, happy to be here, man.
Awesome. Well, I wanted to mention two things. One, Bradley, I'm going to mention you, but I believe, if I heard correctly earlier, that we had one person who the directory hybrid agency training was not a good fit for. So we have one slot available. Is that correct for training that starts on Monday?
Yeah, we have a slot available because we had somebody that had um, originally said they were going to join and then they didn't, and so there is an opening. If anybody is still interested in joining, we start the kickoff the first week. The So we start officially on Monday. So there is an opening for that. If anybody's interested in joining, just contact us. Support at semanticmastery.com. Support at semanticmastery.com. Just send us a email saying that you're interested in the DHA coaching program. And then sometime between now and Monday afternoon, which is when we start, I'll jump on a call with you. If you decide, if whoever sends in a support ticket says they're interested, I'll jump on a 15-minute one-on-one call with you, private call, make sure it's a good fit. And if so, then I'll accept you and you can make the payment and join if you want. It's entirely up to you guys. There is an opening, but I would encourage you to check it out.
Awesome. And the other thing I wanted to mention is that we got a webinar coming up on Monday. So I'm grabbing the link. And Bradley, I could talk about Attache. We've talked to him before. We've had him on Hump Day Hangouts. We both worked with them before, or all of us have. But do you mind mentioning what you're going to talk to him about as far as, the automated outbound type stuff?
Yeah, so the DHA program is about creating a cold email system, and that is what we use as our initial outreach process. So we use cold email to kind of initiate conversations with business owners in whatever industry we've selected in a very non-confrontational, non-salesy way. And it works incredibly well. However, so the DHA program is a 12-week program, which is not just about getting the cold email infrastructure set up, but it's also the strategy and having the directory and building two different brands, a directory brand and a local lead generation brand and all this other stuff. It's a very intense program. It's a 12-week program, and it's a lot of work to do to get it all built up. We've got it spaced out properly with catch up week every fourth week and everything like that, so that because this is now the third group we've had go through it. But I understand it's a lot. It requires 8 to 10 hours a week to kind of build this system over the next 12 weeks. Okay. So Attache is in the company that he runs is called Hyperkey. They're the ones that have been doing appointment setting, lead generation, and appointment setting for my white label link building agency. In April it'll be 3 years that they've been doing that for me, and that's because I was running the lead gen and appointment setting for Tree Care HQ, my own local SEO agency, but then for my white label agencies, I just outsourced that. And those guys are amazing. They've done incredibly well. It's not cheap to have do the appointment setting for you. It's not cheap, but Attache, we have a monthly call on Wednesdays. the first Wednesday of every month, we have a meeting. And he was telling me about a new done for you infrastructure setup service where I mean, these guys are awesome at it. Um, but they'll set up warm up email domains for you, set up the accounts, put them into email warming systems, set up the cold email system. So the cold email app I use instantly. I'm not sure what they use, but a cold email app, get everything integrated, set up the sequences and everything. So they build it for you. And then you still, it's up to you to run it and to process the leads and everything else, but it's a done for you email system and they maintain it. They build it for you and maintain it for you. So I think it's a great option for those. We've had people that have come through or have been on one-on-one calls with me. They were asking about the DHA coaching program, but just don't have the bandwidth to devote 8 to 10 hours per week to building the system. Well, this is precisely for those people. Anybody that wants this kind of a lead generation system in their agency, but don't have the time or the desire to build it yourself, this is a great alternative. So that's what Attaché is going to come on and be kind of demonstrating the cold email setup and management system for anybody that doesn't have the bandwidth or the desire to do it on their own. And we will be doing that on Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern.
Awesome. Just pasted the link in chat. Be sure to join. Other than that, guys, anything else before we jump into questions? Cool.
I don't
All
think
right.
so.
Let's do it.
Got a bunch of questions too. So let me rearrange the screen a little bit. We'll get into it. No comments. This is 2 weeks in a row now where we fired up Hump Day Hangouts and it's been quiet. Anybody's attending live, comment. Let us know you're live. All right, I'm going to grab the screen and jump into it. Got a bunch of questions, so. All right, so the first one comes from Sam. He says, how long does it take to implement the DHA with the SOPs? So that's a great question. You can, it depends on how much time you have, right? How aggressive are you going to be? How much time are you going to devote to it? Through the DHA coaching program, where you get direct support from me. It's a 12-week program, but thanks guys. I appreciate you guys jumping in with some comments. Let me know you guys are alive. Thanks everybody. Appreciate that. So with the coaching program, it's 8 to 10 hours per week. So I say about 1.5 to 2 hours per day, Monday through Friday. That gives you your weekends off still, but you can certainly be more aggressive with it. If you have more time, more bandwidth to devote to it, you can get it done quicker. Most of the people that join the program are managing their own freelancing business or a small agency or whatever anyway. And so 8 to 10 hour time commitment is all that they can really devote most of the time. Some people that have joined have a lot more time and they can roll through the stuff a lot quicker. So it really depends on how much time you can devote. Again, my recommended and for people to now, this is the third group going through the phase 1 program. And so through the first 2 groups, we've refined it, right? And figured out what the better kind of cadence is or the timing of the task assignments and all that kind of stuff. And so it's really well developed now. It's packaged up quite well. It's a 12-week program. It's 3 weeks of task assignments and then a 4th week of catch up and support. Then 3 weeks of task assignments and a 4th week of catch up and support. And we do that. So there's a catch up week on week 4, week 8, and week 11. And so essentially, and then that's just basically, again, with 8 to 10 hours per week, we haven't had anybody that has committed to that amount of time, investing that amount of time that wasn't able to have the system completely built by the end of the 12 weeks. So it's entirely up to you as to how much bandwidth you have, but that's about the average. So if you would say 12 weeks, let's say, even if it was 10 hours a week, it's 120 hours. So how do you want to split that up? It's up to you, however you want to split that up. Okay. Robert says, I'm having difficulty with GMB listings, unique, I think, issue, having bought out a couple of competitors. Alex, I think I saw a question from you earlier. I'm seeing you in comment. I might have to do a consult call soon. Yeah, by the way, I think I saw your question from last week and I had to jump to the questions this week because we had a bunch of questions. But if it depends, Alex, I'm sorry, I kind of went between questions, guys. I'll come back to this one in a minute. Alex, if you're asking about LLG sites tanking, it depends on when it happened. If it happened around the last week or so of the 3rd to 4th week of December, then you probably got caught up in that spam update. and whether you did something wrong or not, it doesn't matter. That was one of the biggest on-page optimization updates. The Google spam update was December 19th through the 26th is when that was a 7-day rollout. And it was a massive update. One of the biggest ones since if not the biggest, since the helpful content update. And there was a ton of sites that should not have been caught up in a spam update or a spam filter, but were. And there were a ton of sites that should have been caught in the spam filter that got promoted in the search results. And typical Google fashion, that kind of stuff happens. But there's in some cases we've had some. Fortunately, none of mine got hit. Thank God, because I put so much work into them. But and it's not that we've done anything spammy, because like if you look at my Felling Pro site structures and everything else, there's nothing spammy about what we're doing. Not a goddamn thing is spammy about what we're doing. It is on the up and up. So any of the LLG site members of the mastermind that got LLG sites, which there were a handful of them, a few of them that contacted me, and I actually went and looked at their search console and did some analysis on them and everything else, and determined that most of them, the ones that had contacted me, had been hit by the spam update. And so in some cases, well, how do you recover from that? Change the domain. That's about the only thing you can do, really. I mean, you can do a lot of testing to figure out. Here's the thing. If you were doing your LLG sites on subdomains and the root domain was caught in the spam update for whatever reason, again, there was no reason why any of my member or the program members should have been caught in a spam update, but some of their domains were. And if the domain is caught in a spam update, all subdomains are gone. I mean, they might still be indexed, but Google's not going to serve them for the search queries. So you have to just replace the domain, right? So find another domain with a similar name or the same name in a different extension and just swap it out. If you're building out the sites the way that, well, I do it in HighLevel, it's super easy to change domains. If you're not doing the sites in HighLevel, but in WordPress, well, you're going to have to migrate sites to the new domain. But if a penalty was, or if it was only an individual subdomain site, like in other words, if you've got multiple subdomain sites and only one or a couple of them dropped, but the others are doing fine, then those were isolated to those specific subdomains, which means in order to resolve that, you could just replace the subdomain. So add another modifier or a variant of the location name that you use for the subdomain or something like that to then redeploy the site or to a different subdomain, if that makes sense. So you got to determine, was it a domain penalty or a subdomain penalty? And then you can test around, you can test with changing content and all that other kind of stuff, but you could spend weeks testing. When I've already confirmed from some of my members in the mastermind that, because I encouraged them to do the same, was just change the domains. And those that have started to do that have started to see the sites come back. So unfortunately, it is what it is. That again, go Google, go search for Google spam update December 2024, and you can read all about it. It's ridiculous. Like, it was one of the biggest updates, if not the biggest, since helpful content update. And I don't see where some of the sites got hit. And I mean, many sites, not just LLG sites, but if you read through some of the threads and the forums and things like that, man, there were a bunch of sites that got hit that shouldn't, and a bunch of really shitty, spammy sites that got promoted significantly, which again, that's typical Google fashion. And then over time, they kind of try to dial that algorithm change in to reduce the unintended consequences, if that makes sense. So anyway, that's the quickest and simplest way to overcome or to recover from that is just change the domain. But try to determine first, was it a domain penalty or subdomain? If it's subdomain, then you could just swap out the subdomain and you should be fine. If it's domain, you're going to have to replace the domain. Or you could do a bunch of changes, because it was an on-page penalty, not an off-page. So you could do things like changing structures, changing content, all of that. But again, it's, in my opinion, that's difficult, and you're going to do a lot of trial and error to try to figure out what was right or what caused it, and you may never find it. So the quickest and easiest thing to do is just swap out domains. Okay. Hopefully that's clear. All right, back to Robert's question. Sorry about jumping between questions, but I saw that comment and I wanted to address it. I'm having difficulty with GMB listings. Unique, I think, having bought out a couple of competitors with multiple GMB locations. The locations were originally set up using postal mailboxes or the mechanic's home address for mail verifications. Between the three of us, there are 10 to 12 locations throughout an approximately 100-mile radius. Most locations have had the address and pointer removed by Google, and I'm unable to re-verify. Yeah, they were suspended. either suspended or in re-verification status, which in many cases will unpublish them now. I have a number of GBPs that are in re-verification status that remained published, which is great because I can still get leads from them. I just can't I can't edit them at all. I can't publish Google business posts. Can't make any changes to them whatsoever, but they're still published. But I've seen it both ways where re-verification unpublishes it and re-verification leaves it published. Suspension is going to unpublish it. And so in any case, the question then is, there are many limitations on service area businesses that create serious ranking issues for us. Yes, that is correct. And that is true across the board. Any service area business, Google tells us in their acceptable use policy that we're supposed to unpublish the street address or not display, right? Hide from display the street address. But anybody that's been doing local SEO for any amount of time, you already know if you publish the street address, you're going to see a performance boost, right? A ranking gain out of just publishing the street address. So I encourage all of my tree care contractors, many of which have unpublished street address, that first I discuss with them, I find out if their business address that the GBP was originally verified with or to is still their business address. And if so, do they have actual like like a business license or utilities or anything like that that are in their businesses or their company's name that come to that address? So any kind of bills or documentation and everything, as long as we have the proper documentation, then I tell them, listen, I recommend that you publish the street address. Understand, and I always make sure they're very clear. I'm 100% transparent about this with the clients. I tell them there's a level of risk involved, right? If we publish the street address, it is likely going to trigger a re-verification or even possibly a suspension. But that's why I clearly get all of the details up front as to whether or not they have a real valid business location that with all the proper paperwork and everything, so that in case it triggers re-verification or suspension, we can either submit for reinstatement or go through the verification process, and we stand a very good chance of recovering it or getting it reinstated or re-verifying it, whatever, if that makes sense. But I let them make the decision. I give them all of that, I ask them the questions, make sure that they have everything, and then I tell them, like, look, it'll perform better if we publish the street address, but you need to be aware of the risks. And I'm going to let you make the decision. And many times they're going to say, well, what do you suggest? And I tell them, I think it's worth the risk as long as you have the proper paperwork and everything. And we might go through a temporary period of time where it's suspended or in re-verification process status, but we will most likely, I'm not giving you a 100% guarantee that we'll be able to get it recovered, but we most likely will. So it's up to you. Are you a risk taker or not? And I let them make the decision. Okay. That way they don't pass it off on me and say, well, you ruined my, no, I didn't. I gave you the decision. It was your decision, right? And that's why you have to be 100% transparent about that up front. Okay. So what can you do to fix it? There's not much you can do, man. That's why I don't recommend doing spam GBPs at all anymore. Like, I don't teach that at all, not a bit. I still have a number of my own, and I'm in the process of rebranding some of those now, and I'm doing it very slowly, very methodically, so that I don't get them suspended or re-verified because I can't re-verify them. I've got dozens of GBPs out there that I can't re-verify if they go into that status. So I'm doing kind of brand change, name change, very methodically, very slowly, in a very specific way. I talk about this in the mastermind on how to do that kind of stuff. But what I'm saying is, I don't recommend buying GBPs or trying to get GBPs or verify GBPs on non-real valid business locations. Like, in other words, if they're spammed GBPs that aren't verified to real valid physical business locations, don't bother anymore. That's what I'm saying. Because it's so hard to keep them. Even if you can get them verified, which is difficult to do, it's very difficult to keep them. It's like Google's gotten a lot better at determining whether a GBP is a real valid business location. One of the other things that I've experienced was buying GBPs that were reclaimed, right? So GBPs that were claimed by somebody somehow, and then they changed the Google business category from whatever it was originally to whatever tree service, which is what I always need it for. I found that those never perform as well as if you just start with a new GBP or a GBP that was originally categorized in that service category. if it changes, if it's been reclaimed or claimed for the first time, and then the category is changed, I found that they never perform well. And so the reason I'm saying that now is because of all of that over the last, well, I haven't even really attempted any GBP stuff like to create new ones or buy or purchase or anything in probably a year and a half, maybe even 2 years now. Because of 3 years ago when they started the video verification stuff, I just said, you know what? Like I realized then that the handwriting was on the wall. It was very apparent to me that the days of us being able to go out and get GBPs on a whim and then spend money and effort and time and all that working on building them up was futile. It was those days were over, number one, and it was in my it's a not a good business model to go out and try to get new GBPs to replace the ones that we're missing unless you have real valid business locations. That's why, Robert, I teach the DHA model, which is build organic only lead gen assets. And then you use those to then sell traditional retainer based services to companies or businesses in the areas that you have lead gen assets already ranked for, because then you can associate your organic lead gen asset with their GBP and vice versa, instead of having to try to secure GBPs and verify them when you don't have a real valid business location. That's what I'm doing in my agency because I don't want to spend time, effort, money, resources, etc. on a GBP that is not a real valid business location. Because what happens when Google decides that it's spam and they either put it in a re-verification status or they suspend it? Now you're screwed. You're not going to be able to reinstate it. So you just pissed away all that effort and all that time, all that money, everything. And I'm not building my business that way, guys. I like getting paid from the work that I do for years to come as much as possible, right? That's why I don't like doing like churn and burn affiliate stuff and launch jacking stuff and all that kind of stuff. Why? Because it's the treadmill, right? The hamster wheel of constantly having to redo stuff over and over and over again. And I hate rework. So I got away from doing, like I said, I still got a number of GBP assets of my own that I'm trying to rebrand and doing it very, very carefully, so that I don't trigger suspension. But as far as getting new ones, I don't get new ones. The only way I will work on GBP or get, GBPs now is if it's a client's GBP. And then I will work on that because it can be re-verified, reinstated if needed. Okay. So unfortunately, I can't give you any good answers for that, man, except for avoid GBPs unless you have real valid business locations to verify them to, which I know isn't the answer you wanted to hear, but it's the answer that I'm giving you because, again, in my own business, I'm not going to go out and build or secure GBPs that don't have real valid business locations behind them for all the reasons I just described. Huzaifa says, does not having a phone number on the site negatively affect rankings? I don't know. I've not tested that. As far as local SEO, I've not tested that because in my opinion, it's unnatural to have a local business website without a phone number. So I've always had a phone number on it. So I've not tested that, Huzaifa, but you could always test that, right? Take like a low competition site, remove the phone number from some pages and leave the phone number on other pages and see if they drop or anything. I don't know. I honestly don't know. And without testing, I can't give you an answer. Okay. I try not to speculate. When I do speculate, guys, I'm going to tell you it's speculation. So it's a good question, but I don't know. James says, hey, Bradley, I want to get your thoughts on this SOP for local rankings. Oh, yeah. I read this question earlier before today's meeting started or Hump Day Hangout started, and I actually diagrammed this out. So you guys will see my sketching skills, which that's sarcasm. I want to get your thoughts on this SOP for local rankings. Seem to work really well. Guys, sounds like a gem. It's going to need to be tested, but I'm going to read through this and then I'll show you the diagram because I think this is what he's saying. I diagrammed it out to make it easier for me to understand as well as hopefully you guys as well. So this sounds like it could work. I think it's worth testing for sure. So James, I appreciate you asking this question. He says, Bradley, I want to get your thoughts on this SOP for local rankings. Seem to work really well, and I would like to know if there's any downsides. We're building 300 directory listing citations, then tiering the citations using spam PBNs, and each PBN page has an NAPW, which is name, address, phone number, and website, listing using an unlinked website URL, as well as a GB map embed. After all that, we force index the juiced up citations and rankings skyrocket. Are there any downsides to using this method? Sorry for the long question. No, not that I know of, except when you say you're doing 300 directory listing citations, I hope you're not using like Citation Vault for that, because if that's the case, or something similar, because I know there's a number of them out there now. There's copycats. I think Citation Vault was the original. Maybe not. Maybe Citation Vault was a copycat, and that's just the one that got the most name recognition. But in any case, I know there's a number of services out there that do that. There is a purpose and a good use of those types of links. I use Citation Vault specifically to link to an ID page, not to the money site. So I'm not saying, I don't know whether James did that or not. I'm just stating, because 300 is the number that most of these services, not just Citation Vault, but the other ones that are very similar. I don't know what the magic number of 300 is, but that's what most of them have, are 300. So if they're real business directory listings, then great. But I would not use those types of services to link directly to your money site, okay? Just because those are clear footprints, like clear footprints, okay? Anyway, so if you're doing 300 business directory type of citations, okay, which would be appropriate and relevant to link directly to the money site, then I think this is what you're saying. You got the target URL that you build regular citations to, I hope, that have a link to the money site. NAPW, obviously, and then the link to the money site. So that's going to be NAPW, which is going to be the link to the money site. Okay. So it's an actual hyperlink. In this case, so if I'm reading this right, you've got a business directory listing that's going to have name, address, phone number, business description, and then a link to the target URL, which is going to be the money site. And then you're going to have PBN links, bunches of them, that in the PBN post, you're going to have a name, address, phone number, and website mentioned. So that's a citation. That is a citation, guys. Do you understand? We think of citations as business directory listings, and that is true. A business directory listing is a citation. That is what's called a structured citation. An unstructured citation is any other published mention of name, address, phone number, and website information, or some combination of those 4 data points, right? That's it. That's a citation. Think about, remember in school, whenever you had to reference other people's writings, you'd have to cite the source. That's a citation. What is a citation? It's a mention of the source. You get it? So the PBNs having NAPW is a citation, okay? But what you're saying is non-hyperlinking the website URL. Okay, so but a GB map embed, but a published mention of name, address, phone number, and a published mention of the website, but it's not a hyperlink. Do I think that would cause a problem? As long as these are actually valid business directory listings here, no, I don't see where that would cause a problem at all. I think that actually sounds like a gem of a strategy, actually. But I would not use something like Citation Vault for these types of links, okay? Because of all the reasons I just mentioned. It's a footprint. It's pretty clear that you can see that too, right? So anyway, do I think this would work? It sounds like it would. Yeah, I would like to test it, but I certainly think that would work, because that's, again, especially, part of the reason I like Yext Power Listings, I've done talks about this on Hump Day Hangouts, is because I used to hate Yext Power Listings. But when it's a published street address in the United States, you get roughly 60 to 65 really well optimized. As long as you optimize the Yext profile incredibly well, then that syncs out. So you've got 60, let's just say 60 in the US with a published street address. You get about 60 really well optimized citation profiles or business directory profiles. Okay. And they're super well optimized with images, proper categories, business description, all that stuff. And then also, there's a featured message in Yext Power Listings, which I haven't done an actual test on this in probably 4 years now, but 4 years ago, I took these list of directories from Yext Power Listings and submitted them to a no follow link tester. So it was a bulk tester. It was might even still have it on my desktop. No follow. No, anyways, it was a software, free software from the GSA suite, or no, Scrapebox, from Scrapebox, that is a no follow link tester. And you could just take a whole list of URLs and plug them in, and then hit submit, and it'll come back and tell you which links were follow and which ones were no follow, which link sources provided follow links and which ones were no follow. And what I found was interesting was on Yext Power Listings, like I said, I haven't tested this in probably 4 years, but about half of them, 50 to 60% of them, the featured message, right? Just to be clear, in the business directory listings, you have your name, address, phone number, and website information. But then in the featured message section, you can put whatever anchor text or text you want, which becomes the anchor text, and then you put the target URL. So that's obviously going to be for like a special offer and things like that. But what I found was, for whatever reason, about 50 to 60% of the business directory listings that have no follow links for the website link as part of the NAPW would have follow links for the featured message link or URL. Does that make sense? And so again, I haven't tested this in several years, but I always thought that was incredibly interesting, because then Yext Power Listings, like at the time when I discovered this, we were linking to the Google Business website. Remember, that's been sunset. They retired that. Google retired that in March of last year. But the Google Business website was perfect for putting in that featured message field, because then it would be a do follow links from about roughly half of the business directory listings. And then we would spam the shit out of the citation URLs, the business directory listing URLs, right? With just bulk spam. And because essentially what we would do is do bulk spam to the citations, and then the citations would have a do follow link to the Google Business website, which is a Google property, so you don't have to worry about over optimizing with it's a high domain authority property, which means it can withstand that type of kitchen sink spam abuse. You know what I mean? Like, so now what would be a good alternative? An ID page, right? Again, an ID page is perfect to put into that, because if you host an ID page on one of the high authority cloud properties, I still use Amazon S3 for that. Now you've got a very high authority property that, if you do the ID pages the way that we teach, you are literally referencing every single page URL in Google's index that you can find that has the NAPW referenced on the page somewhere with accurate information. And all of those page URLs then are referenced within the ID page. So if you think about it, you build citations from Yext Power Listings with the featured message URL linking to the ID page, and the ID page is a collection of every single page URL in Google's index that has accurate information published about that business that corroborates that NAPW information. And then you build PBN links to the ID page, or excuse me, to the citations, so that you can push spam link equity into the citation that flows through the do follow link to the ID page, which is an incredibly high authority page, which then distributes that link equity to all of those page URLs again. So it creates like a link wheel almost. You see what I'm saying? Because you're building PBN links to citations. The citation URLs are referenced in the ID page with hyperlinks. You see what I'm saying? So it creates like a link wheel where the PBNs are pushing link juice into the citations. The citations then are pushing link juice into the ID page. The ID page is then pushing link juice back out to the citations. So it creates like a link wheel. It's incredibly powerful. So anyways, I brought that up because, again, I think that sounds like a gem of a strategy, as long as you're not using those kind of spam. Don't get me wrong, guys. I use Citation Vault. I'm not saying don't use it. It's just use it in the appropriate place is all I'm saying, or something comparable. Okay, hopefully that's clear. That's a great question, by the way. Darren Perky, what's up, Darren? Seen you in a long time. That's a name. Blast from the past. Citations. Cite the business. That is correct. It's 100% correct. All right, guys, moving on to the next question. I really like that question there, James. And really the strategy. I don't see any problem with that at all. Like I said, I would just recommend, if you're going to use those kind of spammy citation services, that you use a buffer instead of linking direct to the money site. The ID page is perfect for that, guys. Do you understand? It's perfect for that. Okay, Tom says, how do the first 60 to 90 days look in your mastermind? Depends on what path you want to take, Tom. It really depends on what path you want to take. What is most pressing in your business? Let's just jump over here for a minute. I'll show you what I mean. We've got different discussion groups: general discussion, Google Business, link building, on-page SEO, content optimization, marketing, etc., prospecting and sales, outsourcing and management, automation, and now AIs and prompt stuff. Then we also have the mastermind webinars. So these are the discussion groups, but then the mastermind webinars and the Build with Bradley meetings, those are the webinars that I host. Every every Thursday I host a webinar. It's either an actual SEO webinar that's usually about 2 hours long. And that's where there's a chat box and I'm doing training and I'm answering questions and sometimes I'm doing prepared training. Sometimes it's stuff that people in the mastermind have asked me to do. And then I will do that. Maybe sometimes it's doing an audit, a review of an audit for somebody that asked me to do it for free, as long as I can use it as a teaching opportunity in the mastermind. Then we have the Build with Bradley meetings on the other Thursdays, which is a 1 hour. Sometimes it goes a little bit over, but it's a 1 hour discussion group. It's an actual meeting. And that's where everybody that people can just attend if they want, but I encourage people to participate. Show your camera, unmute yourself on the mic, and we have discussions. Sometimes I'll do training there too, but the majority of the times those are discussions. And I love those. I freaking love those because it's a great way to build kind of camaraderie between other members and it's fun. I really enjoy those. So that's every single Thursday. And then anything that you want in the mastermind, you can ask questions about, and I will either answer them in the discussion groups or we will cover them very thoroughly on one of the Thursday webinars, if that makes sense. But it's up to you. I mean, we've got the SOP section. This is where we've got all the very detailed, well-developed SOPs. Here's the directory SOPs. This is the sequence of SOPs for the DHA program right here. All mastermind members have access to this the moment that they join. Okay. You don't have to join the DHA program if you can self-manage your own time, right? If you don't need somebody, an accountability partner to kick you in the ass when you're slacking off. That's what the coaching program is for. It's for me to literally stand behind you with a whip and crack that shit whenever you're slacking off. You know what I mean? And they provide any support if needed. But then we have the other SOPs. So these are other SOPs that are, again, very, very thorough for the kind of various SEO tactics or methods that I use. Okay. So anyway, it's entirely up to you. What are the first 6 to 8 weeks like? Well, it depends on what path or journey you want to take. But yeah, what I always recommend is get in, take a look at the SOPs, ask questions as to what would be most relevant. You know, if you share with me what your most pressing needs are in your agency, what do you have the biggest, need for? Then I can point you in the right direction. And by the way, if you join the mastermind, you get a 30-minute one-on-one consultation call with me to start. Like it's the onboarding call. It's 30 minutes private call with me. And so that's always where I get to know you a little bit, find out about your business, ask you what your struggles are, what your goals are. That way I can help you to get the best use out of the mastermind, point you to the appropriate places, the correct SOPs, etc. Okay, hopefully that's clear. Moving on. Uzziah says for outscraper do you first use Google Map Scraper to get domains, then use email and contact scraper to find emails from the domains, or what's the process? No, the process is just I use Google Map Scraper, and through the process of the settings for the scrape job, I ask it to return the emails. Right? I don't know why you would do two separate processes for that, Uzziah. When in the settings, you can ask it to return that data. Out here, take a screenshot of this. Okay. I'm going to pull open the outscraper SOP. And then you can take a screenshot of this. I've said this 1,000 times to you already, Uzziah. If you just join the mastermind, man, you'll have all of this stuff. You ask these questions every week for stuff that's covered 100% in the mastermind. So let me just show you contact lists. Outscraper preferred right here. Okay, take a screenshot or pause the video, read through there. There's videos too, but you're not going to be able to watch the videos. Let's see. Yeah, that's it. That's all you need. It's just that's that simple. There's a video there too, but just take a screenshot of that. That's the settings. All I do is in outscraper. We use the Google Business Profile or GMB Map Scraper, whatever they call it. Can't remember what the hell they call it. Oh, you know what? This does this all the time. Some sort of stupid redirect. There we go. See how it's just freaking out. Let me try this again. I don't know why it does that. It's so weird. Okay. I don't know why it does that. Anyway, let me just grab the sorry, it's taking a little bit longer than I planned. Give me 1 second. There it is. See how it's freaking out? It's stuck in a redirect loop. I don't know why. It's only in that browser. I got to figure out why. I just haven't fixed it yet. Oh, for fuck's sake. Jesus. Okay. Services. We do by type, business and POI, Google Map Scraper right there. We use Google Map Scraper, and then close out of that. Then the settings right here are the settings that are listed right here. Okay, take a screenshot. Moving on. Jim says, why does an email sent through GoHighLevel via a snippet land in the promotions tab while the same message sent manually ends up in the inbox? Probably because of open tracking. Um, Also, it is SMTP. So, if you've got any sort of open tracking pixels, or if you've got click tracking on any links that are sent, then it's going to have the domain, like, so it's the link, anything that causes any of the data within the email to be, was it obfuscated? I can't say that word. But like, in other words, like, for example, if you're using link tracking and you're linking to something, then, like, especially if you're linking to a URL, like, so it's a URL anchor, but the link that it actually clicks to is a tracking URL, then it's a mismatch between what is displayed and what the actual link is that it's hyperlinked to. That can cause it. If you have open tracking, it's a pixel involved. That can cause it. Um, if you're using SMTP through either lead connector email or mailgun, that can cause the emails to go. So that would be like on a subdomain of the domain if you're sending email through either lead connector email or mailgun, right? Which is an SMTP connection through HighLevel. That can cause it. That's why we use workspace emails. We use workspace emails for all of our cold outreach. And then when we receive a positive reply from our cold email outreach from our prospecting campaigns, then there's a webhook that creates a contact from instantly into HighLevel and then pushes the conversation into HighLevel. And then we pick up the conversation in HighLevel, but we have workspace accounts, or it's one workspace email is integrated as the primary email account for each HighLevel sub account. Does that make sense? And even then, when we send email through HighLevel, uh, occasionally it will still end up in the promotions tab as opposed to the primary inbox, even though it's coming from a workspace account. Okay. And also, you'll notice if you're using workspace as the primary email for a HighLevel sub account, then you have to set the reply to option in the settings in order to, because when you send through workspace through SMTP, but it's still through the workspace account through HighLevel, then if somebody replies to that email, unless you have the reply to settings proper in HighLevel, then you won't receive that inbound reply in the HighLevel conversations tab. It'll go into your Gmail inbox, but you won't see it and be able to communicate and converse with them in the HighLevel communications tab unless you have the reply to setting turned on, which then it will send it back um, a unique email as the reply to in the HTML or the email header. It'll say sent from whatever your workspace account is, but then email address is, but then it'll say reply to, and it'll be a unique long string of characters on, like, I think the message sender domain or whatever it is. And that's the reply to address. And so when somebody replies to that, it actually sends that reply into HighLevel and HighLevel in the conversations tab. So, we use workspace emails not only for cold email, we use different domains for our cold email campaigns, but then I also have workspace emails set up that I use now as my primary email for each sub account. Like, I've got different, domains set up for each sub account. Well, in fact, on my LLG sites, local lead generation sites, every sub account shares the same, in client sites too, actually. We share the same sending domain or email. Yeah. So it's the same workspace account across multiple sub accounts, which you can do if you set up workspace as the primary account. So it's just a matter of, if the email service providers think that it's not the original email, the email coming from the original service provider, then a lot of times they'll go into promotions because it's likely a marketer. Okay. It is what it is. There's not much we can do about it, guys. We just got to try to find the best ways to play within the restrictions that the ESPs continue to lay on to us. You know what I mean? It continues to get worse and worse too, by the way. They keep getting more strict and more strict, which is part of the reason why we're having Attache come on Monday to talk about doing a done for you email setup, because they're awesome. I mean, that's all they do is cold email stuff. And so they're really good at always figuring out the workarounds for every time the ESPs throw a new monkey wrench into everything. Okay. Okay, next one. When you're cold emailing prospects for the directory and you have 2 to 3 sending domains, should the sender's name be my name or should it appear as the directory's name, asking them to confirm their information? We've done both. I still think we get better results with a personal name as the sender name. So that's typically what I do. In fact, I'll just demonstrate that. So you'll see my different accounts. Like this is the one that we use for all client accounts. This is the email that we add to as the workspace account for this is the workspace email that gets added to all client sub accounts. Does that make sense? We use the same workspace account for all client sub accounts. All right. But anyways, like let's just click into some of these, like tech at treecarehq.app. We look at the settings, look at the name. In this case, I did Bradley and then last name TreeCareHQ in brackets. Let's see. We'll look at another one. This one should be Bradley Benner. This is tech at treecarehq.com, tech at treecarehq@mail.com, Bradley B, tech at treecarehqmail.net. Let's see, that one is Brad Benner. So you see, most of them are my name, and I've done a lot of testing with this, and you get better opens when it comes from a personal name than it does from a company name. Okay. Very quickly, since we're in here, look at this, guys. You guys think that this shit works? This is one of the campaigns that I just started running. Let's look at the last 3 months. So we started running this on January 8th, I guess or 9th. January 9th is when we started sending on this campaign. So let's just go back to the last 4 weeks and make it easier to read. But look at this, guys. We started this one on January 9th. It's now February 12th. There was 593 contacts in that list. It started the sequence to 390 out of the 593 contacts. We've had a 74% open rate. Do you guys think this directory outreach process works? Cold email, 74% open rate on cold email, guys. For those of you that are on the fence or that are struggling to get leads into your agency, what the hell are you waiting for? Right? What the hell are you waiting for? The 4 years I've been working on this, and it consistently produces results like this, guys. 74% open rate. I got 30 leads, 30 inbound leads from 390 contacts. What is that? It's less than a 10% response rate, positive reply rate, but 74% open rate. These were people that replied back to my directory outreach process that are now in our pipeline. You get it? So in a month's time, I got 30 fucking leads, guys, from sending 60 emails a day to a list of only less than 600, right? In a month, 30 leads. How many leads have your agencies received in the last month? I'm not picking on anybody. I'm not bragging. I'm saying this was because I put this system together, which again is 100% accessible to all members of our mastermind right here. That system right there. In fact, you don't even need to do all of this. You can just do the front end part of it and end up with campaigns that run like this. Okay. So 30 leads into my agency in a month. Think about that, guys. And I'm doing lower sending volume because I haven't had the bandwidth to take on more work than we currently get from the sending volume that we're at. So anyway, moving on. Which one of your Felling Pro sites can we copy the heading structure and page structure one-to-one for the best results? None of them, James, are going to be, you can model the structure, but every single industry is going to require trial and error I can give you the guidance, like the framework as a good starting point, but every single industry is going to require you to go in and play around, do through trial and error to figure out what is the best performing configuration. If I could just tell you, go copy this and then you're going to crush it, then man, I would love that. But that's too easy. And by the way, that's not how it works. And just so you know, I tell that to all members and link building clients. And when I do full SEO audits and I provide page structure, site structure, and internal linking recommendations and all that kind of stuff, I tell them flat out, look, I'm not in this industry. So I'm going to give you guidance and recommendations for a good starting point. But once you have this kind of structure built into the site, an internal linking scheme, and all of that is executed properly, then from that point forward, you got to do some trial and error. Use different pages of the site to split test different things on to determine what the best structure is. So, so for that, James, to answer your question, any of them, because all of my LLG sites have proper structure, the configuration of the elements of that page may be different though. In other words, like which term do I use in the SEO title versus the H1? What do I use as the H2s, which are headings? What do I use as subheadings? H3s, 4s, 5s, right? All of that. But any of them, they're all very, very similar. One of the most recent ones that we just did was, you could look at this one, Loudon Felling Pro. This was actually one of my GBPs that I rebranded, and I just got that done last week, actually. So this is one of the newer ones that I've just recently done. And this one now has a GBP that was rebranded. I don't think I put it on the homepage, but should be here. Maybe no, I didn't put it on this site yet. No, I haven't put it on this site yet. But anyway, this was a rebranded GBP that was then added to this once the rebrand was taken by Google. But this would be a good one. Loudon, LOUDON.felling.pro. Okay. All right, moving on. We only got a few minutes left. Is a self-hosted site with perfect page and heading structure combined with your semanticseo.pro white label service all that is needed to rank a GBP. I want to focus my time on sales, and semantic SEO seems to be complete done for you GBP service. Yes, sir. That is precisely what that is for, James. So with the semantic SEO Google Business Profile SEO plans, that is assuming that you have proper on page for the main website. And if you don't, or if you aren't sure, we have a full SEO audit service where I personally will perform the audit and provide you with very specific instructions on how to optimize the site and how to structure it properly. But keep in mind what I just mentioned a moment ago. I'm going to give you the instructions and say this is the starting point. Once you get this structure built, it's still going to require some testing on your end to figure out what the proper structure configuration is. Excuse me. But yes, that is the GBP SEO. Why don't I do the on page? Because guys, I don't work on other people's websites. That's a policy I adopted probably 5 years ago now, maybe 6. I do not work on other people's websites. Full stop. Period. I won't log into them. I'm not making any fucking changes to anybody else's website. It's either I build them or I will provide consultation on how to correct things or improve things, but I'm not touching other people's websites, right? And that's just a policy I have because there's just too many page builders and too many. You get into somebody else's work and you don't know what they did and you do something wrong and it breaks the site. Now you're on the hook for it. No thanks. I want no part of that shit. So like I said, with the GBP SEO, that is literally where we optimize the Google Business Profile. We do content publishing posts, citation building, consistent citation building. We do authority content marketing, but we do that on external blogs so that we don't need access to the main website. So we build a branded Google site as part of the monthly SEO campaign. We build which we do the site mirroring method or process where we take the Google site and we build the structure into the Google site that mirrors the main website. And then we also build branded assets, supporting assets. That's all part of the monthly SEO campaign. And then we have the corresponding semantic links link building subscription. So on a low to medium semantic SEO Google Business SEO campaign, we have the low to medium semantic links subscription. It's already included. It's part of it. So on an extreme competition subscription, we have the extreme competition link building plan as part of it. So we do a combination of, and then like I said, if there's on-page optimization things that need to be improved on the main website, we will provide you with guidance and instructions on how to do that, but it's going to be up to you or the webmaster to execute those changes. So to answer your question, yes, if you've got proper site structure and clients with GBPs, and you can then optimize their site properly, can our services? Yeah, absolutely. We can absolutely help you with that. And by the way, these are the prices for this. If you don't already have this, just reach out to me and I'll send it to you. But these are the white label fulfillment prices for our one-offs, or excuse me, our services. So for the subscription services, our cost, our cost, white label costs, our white label pricing is that right there, and the recommended retail pricing for the client is that, which is 40 anywhere between it's close to it, anywhere between a 60 to 100% markup. Right here's $8.99 a month for the high competition, which is our middle of the road plan, and there's the recommended retail pricing, and then here is the white label pricing for extreme, and there's the recommended retail pricing. So, yep, absolutely, we can help you with that if you've got that. But I see more of a correlation between how the self-hosted site is optimized and how the GBP performs than I ever have in my entire career. Like, no kidding. So it is critically important that the website is optimized properly. And then the website and the GBP should agree with each other. That's a term that Ted Kubitis, I learned from Ted Kubitis, is talking about agreement between the GBP and the self-hosted site that it's linked to. And so that's critically important right now. Okay. Great question. Moving on. We've only got a few left. Might be able to get through them. Probably not. Huzaifa says, should we submit index sitemap? Should we submit index sitemap or page sitemaps or both? It doesn't matter. It's 6 in one, half dozen in the other. Like, no kidding, Huzaifa. If you submit the sitemap index, all that does is when you click in the search console and you click the sitemap index, it just goes to another page that shows all the individual sitemaps that are referenced in the sitemap index. So it's 6 in one, half dozen in the other. It doesn't matter. You can do them individually or this index or both. It doesn't matter. Okay. In LOGs, can the primary city be less populous than the supporting locations? Yes, of course. Yes, of course. All that matters is that the locations are nearby each other and that the homepage is optimized for the broadest location entity that is all inclusive of the supporting locations, if that's clear. Next, Tom says, do you have an individual course? I'm going to come to you. How much do you want? I appreciate that, Tom. $1 million.
What? No,
$1
two.
million. That's a great question. Do we have an individual course? No, we have the mastermind. That's why. Come join the mastermind. Stay for a month if you want. Join for a quarter. You buy quarterly pricing is buy 2 months, get one free. So just do that. You don't have to stay subscribed. Come try it for a month or 3 months and see if you like it. How about that? That's our courses are in the mastermind, guys, because it's too difficult to maintain courses. The mastermind, I do a webinar every Thursday. So no matter what's going on in the SEO world, we have current data about it. We talk about it in real time every week. Okay. That's why we don't do courses, individual courses, because stuff changes too damn quick now. Right. So we're not doing that. You join the mastermind. Everything is current. We've got all this training, which can be considered as individual courses, but they're part of the mastermind. So join the mastermind, you'll get access to it. By the way, we have these other ones: local PBN command, local PR pro, semantic links with CTRify, etc. These are all courses. They're all included in the mastermind membership. We don't sell them separately. Well, we do, but rarely. Any comments on that, Adam?
No, sir. I think you got it. I would say the same thing.
All right, my earbud, or whatever the hell this is called, is like crackling and shit. It's annoying. I'm gonna have to go buy new.
Well, time to wrap it up then.
Yeah, let me finish these last two. Rob says, regarding G Sheets with citation URLs that you like to embed in ID pages, are you just simply listing all of the URLs in one column? No, it's concatenated. God damn it. Fucking Zoom, get out of the way. Let me just show you very quickly. This is taught in the mastermind too. We got the Google Sheet template that had, God damn it, fucking work. Shit. Oh man, look at that. Try another tab. There we go. Now it's working. All right. So here's what we do: is this is a Google Sheet, guys, that in column A, you put the URL or the keyword. column one, you put the whatever, column A, column one, whatever. You put the keywords. Column B, you put the URLs. Column C, it's a formula that you just drag from that all the way down to however many rows of data there are, and it concatenates. It turns the URL into hypertext links with the keywords in that same row, if that makes sense. So you'll see like there's 200 page URLs, 212, I think, in here that are page URLs, and they're all keywords that are relevant to this business. So like if we just click on one of them and open it into a new tab, it's going to go to, in this case, it looks like a business directory listing that's loading slowly. But in any case, that's what we're doing. Is you know what? I'm on a VPN tonight or today, and that might be why this is acting funny. But in any case, that's what it is. Those are concatenated. So it's a column A is the keywords, column B is the URLs, column C is a formula that you just drag down, and then you copy the results from that formula row or column, excuse me, and then you paste them as values only. And then I hide the first two rows so that all that end up showing in this G sheet or displayed in the G sheet are the keyword anchor text links that go to these assets. Okay, hopefully that's clear. Whoops, moving on. Last question. Can changing a website on a client's GMB trigger a suspension? It can, but there are ways you can get away around it. Number one, set up a redirect. Originally, set up a redirect from the old URL to the new URL and leave it go for a few weeks, a couple of weeks. Go update citations. If you have citations out there, update them. That's why, again, I love Yext Power Listings because you can do it very quickly. From one, you update one profile and it syncs all the other ones out. That's why I love Yext Power Listings now. I used to hate them. Now I love them. Okay. But update the website URL and citations. Do a redirect from the old URL to the new one and let it sit for a couple of weeks. Also, I recommend when doing any sort of GBP category changes, named or not category changes are bad, but name change, unless they're similar related categories. But like name changes, website URL changes, etc. Something else I like to do is a premium press release that then announces whatever the change is. So that then there's press releases out there that reinforce or validate that change before you actually make the change in the GBP. So that Google has a bunch of validating evidence in its index already that confirms that change is real. So that when you make the change, it doesn't trigger a suspension. I know that seems like a lot to do, guys, just to do something simple like change a website URL. But do you want to go through the reinstatement process or the re-verification process? Do you want to explain that to your client? Or would it be better just to tell them, look, Google's got an itchy trigger finger right now, and it's better if we do this very methodically. It's going to take us, 4 to 6 weeks, but this is what we're going to do. Redirect, update citations, press release. And then within about 4 to 6 weeks of those things being done, then you can go make that change and you shouldn't have any problem. Okay. Any comments I have to answer to?
Just hopping over there. You beat me to it. Let's see. You had already talked about that one.
Brian, what's up, Brian? Brian Cato. We got a superstar in our midst today, guys. Good to see
Jackie.
you, Brian.
Yeah, I came across that guy too, man. And for how little, yeah, I like some of his videos. I watched a bunch of
Who?
them in like December. He had some really interesting stuff going on.
Who?
Jackie Chu. I think it's his, like Indexy, I think is what he does. I know he's running something off SPP as well, which was kind of cool. He's got some SEO stuff going on.
Yeah, Darren says by the time you test, you could have built a new site. That was, yeah, Darren, thank you. I appreciate that. That's what I was saying. I found it much easier just to change the domain in case you think a penalty has occurred, especially for LLG sites, which shouldn't have supporting assets yet. There's really no reason to try to recover that specific domain. It should just redirect, redeploy onto a new domain. Eric says that's literally Jackie Chow's process. I'm not sure what he's talking about. I don't even know who Jackie Chow is, but okay. Darren says citation site to business. Ahmed says I got an 82% open rate on 290 contacts using that method. So Ahmed's talking about the directory outreach process. 82% open rate, guys. Look at that on 292 contact or 290 contacts. That's amazing. He's okay. Jackie Chow is a SEO who does daily YouTube videos. Okay, cool. I haven't heard of him before. I might have to go check it out. Costco. Good night. It's all about reinforcing it. Okay, that's it. We're done. Good to see you, Brian. Would have been cool to, man. You should We'd love to have you come guest host one day, Brian, if you'd want. We'd love to have you do that, man. So, Adam, could you put that on the notes for us to reach out to Brian and invite him on?
Yeah, we've been slacking. We got that on the
We
notes.
have
We
been
need to reach
slacking.
out. So yeah,
Would
we'll
love to have him
get
on,
him
man.
up.
Like
Brian,
to
hit me
get
up.
caught up with you, Brian. See what you're doing, man. Love to have you, dude. All right, guys, wrap it up. Thanks everybody for being here. Like I said, if there's anybody that's interested in DHA coaching program, there isn't one available slot. Just contact support at Semantic Mastery. But you got to hurry because we start on Monday. So if you're interested, don't delay. Send the support ticket in, and sometime between now and Monday afternoon, I will schedule a 15-minute Zoom meeting with you so we can have a quick chat about it to make sure it's a good fit. Thanks, everybody. See you.